We're down to 2%, guys. Man, is this gonna destroy the battery? I've got to be right around the 30-minute mark. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. Check it out. It's the Fimi X8 SE 2020 edition here. I got it right in here in the Flymore combo, I guess you could say it is, with the 2 batteries and this nice little case here. If you missed the unboxing and setup and stuff and the updating, go ahead and check out that video. It'll pop up here on the top right. Also be in the description, as usual, the series of videos and the playlist, and also where you can pick up the stuff I review. And we're gonna see what this thing can do. We're gonna go through all the functions. I've got these 2 batteries that are fully charged and a fully charged controller and my little iPad mini. So we're gonna set this thing up, put it on the controller, great controller for the iPad mini, and we're gonna see what this thing can do. Anyway, let's get started and put this thing through the test. Okay, so we'll just go through a quick little setup here. I usually just like to do this on my first flight test, just so you guys know kind of how long it takes. Of course, my talking delays it a little bit, but we're just going to go through this as fast as possible. So we have 2 little sticks here in the controller that we need to take out and put on the thumbstick gimbals. Just screw them right in, just like that. Got our antennas up. This thing's ready to go. Just needs the iPad in there. And the way we do that, if you missed my initial setup, is one side plugs into the controller, this side plugs into the lightning plug. And this is a great controller because it expands. So you can fit this mini in, you just put it right in the slot here, push it over, and then your iPad mini snugs right in here. I like to push it down a little bit so it's not interfering with the antennas. And we're ready to plug in when we have the drone on. Now we can move over to the drone. Just basically taking it out here. I did get this aftermarket little gimbal cover. Something they may want to think about putting in the box. It's just this little couple dollar piece, and it seems to work very well. Otherwise you just have this little piece of foam. So we have our front arms. You hear a little click here with each arm, and pretty much ready to put the battery in. So we're going to grab one of our batteries, put this guy in with the connector on the back, make sure that's pushed in and on there really good. I usually like to spread out the propellers just a little bit, just to make it easier on the motors when it first starts up. And we really are ready to go. So first thing I want to do is turn on the controller. So press and hold. Hear a beep, that's ready to connect to the drone. The drone, we're going to do the same thing, press and hold. Usually just like to check out the gimbal while I'm doing this. Push and hold. Lights come on, hearing those beeps. Really don't want to have the gimbal be obstructed by anything, so I just push that down a little bit just so it could check itself. And it's ready to go. That's it. I like to record my screen, so I'm going to use the iOS built-in screen recorder here. I'm going to turn off my Wi-Fi and my Bluetooth just so we have no interference. And we'll see if those maps kind of cached in. I did go to this area on the maps before. We'll see if those come up still. I'm going to go ahead and plug in first with this little USB plug right at the bottom of the controller. Do get a little notification beep on my iPad notifying that it's plugged in. The Fimi app doesn't seem to launch automatically, so I'm going to go ahead and just launch it here. We'll have this recorded up on the screen for you guys so you guys can see what's going on. And we're going to go ahead and enter the device. And these are all the latest updates. I think since I had this, it only had one update, which was for the camera. So really quick, as you can see, I have 99% power. We're doing good. I already have 16 satellites up there on the top bar. You can see that. I just wanted to go into the camera really quick and just make sure some of my settings were correct. So we're going to go into video, and we want video quality high because we're going to be taking 4K 30 frames per second, which is the highest it can do. And we're just in kind of general and all auto color settings. We're going to start recording now, and we're going to launch. Let's launch from this button here, this one on the right with the 2 arrows. If we just press it once, nothing happens. We press it and hold it. You see what that does? Just basically is an auto launch. So we're going to be really keeping track of what this thing does and how it's going to return to home as well. As you can see, it launched to, there it is, on the very left of the top of the screen. It's at about 13 feet, 12.5 feet. And I do have some variable, only about 5 miles per hour. Right now it's completely still. When it launched, it was blowing from this direction just a little bit, and you can see how it pushed it a little bit off to the right. So we're really going to be looking at how this thing lands in the return to home and how precise it is, like I usually like to do. I think this one uses the camera to locate the landing pad, and we'll see if it's accurate. Anyway, here we go, guys. Let's go ahead and say hi. There you are. Hey, thanks for tuning in as usual to my vids. Really appreciate it. And don't forget, guys, I'm giving away one of these Fimi X8 SE 2020 editions. So make sure you're subscribed and your notification bell is on for that giveaway video to drop very soon. All right, anyway, let's see how this thing is as far as stability goes. I'm gonna bring it a little bit closer. Let's just check it out. So I'm gonna stop it right here. Now I'm getting some wind from my back, about 5. And let's just see what it does in the wind. So do a little quick walk around at eye level, just so you guys can see and hear it. It really isn't that loud. It's maybe a little bit higher pitch, remember, than the Evo 2 video I just did. That Evo 2 was really low pitch, and it wasn't really noticeable, the sound from very far away at all. This one's a little higher, maybe like a Mavic Pro type of sound to it, but still very tolerable and pretty quiet. You can really see how the motors are tilted forward and back on the front and rear there. Walking around to the back, you can see there's our little yellow notification light. I guess that light just stays on yellow all the time. I think it'll turn red when it's low power. But that's it, kind of holding its stability. Not quite as stable as something like the Mavic drones, right? The DJI drones. It does have those downward sensors, but it doesn't seem to be quite as stable in a little bit of breeze. But remember, this is a $400 budget drone, kind of equivalent in pricing to the Mavic Mini. So a lot of people are asking me, is this a good option compared to the Mavic Mini? Well, we're gonna go through all this stuff right now and really keep an eye on that camera too, just so you guys can see what's up with the quality of that 4K. Remember, the Mavic Mini only does 2K, but it does a really good 2K. So let's go ahead and fly it a little bit. Let's just do a punch up, get some of this view of this beautiful Maui coastline here. So I'm gonna punch it up, full throttle up. And it looks like our vertical speed is about 9 miles per hour. There's a beautiful shot of the West Maui Mountains there. You see that? Just absolutely fantastic. I'm just gonna stop it here so you guys can kind of enjoy that view for a second. Let's just do a quick little video pan. I'm going very slow. I just have the stick just a few degrees to the left. And this is kind of what you can expect for like a manual, nice and slow kind of panoramic there. See that? Stopping. It seems like there is quite a bit of a buffer when I do stop. It just slowly slows down. It doesn't stop right away. Going to the right a bit and stopping now. You see how it kind of keeps going for a bit, still going to the right a little bit, and then it eventually stops. Here's moving the gimbal all the way down. I have this pitched all the way down. And go ahead and check out that video. Tell me what you guys think. There it is, looking at the ground. Remember, the original edition had some issue with colors. Let's see if they fixed it. The original was a little bit too blue. There we go. Here's gimbal pitching all the way up. Now remember, on the bottom left of the screen here, you can see the degree orientation of the gimbal. 17 degrees, 8 degrees, back to 0, and then you can actually go up. See, I'm still pushing up. You can go up another 10 degrees. If you do want to get that gimbal back, I think I have this little button here on the right, this little joystick. Let me see. No, that's the map. I think if I push this down, kind of like what the Mavic does, is you can have a button just to go straight down and then straight back up with the gimbal. And you see how that brings it back to 0. You can't do any like side to side tilting with the 2 fingers like you can with, remember the Mavic series, you can do that. This one you can't do that, just the gimbal up and down. Anyway, pulling stick all the way down. We're just in regular default GPS mode. And we are going just about 6.5 miles per hour down in this mode. I'm just pulling the stick all the way down. And take a look at that video, guys. Look how stable it is. Really look at it, because these are the kinds of instances where it's going to be flying and you really want to know how stable that video is while you're flying. So do you see that? Come down and I'll just let off and you can see how fast it stops. Full down, letting off now. Really good, very comparable to DJI with its stopping and sticking there. Like I was saying, a little bit more wishy-washy on the horizontal stability, but when there's no wind, it's perfect. Just a little bit of wander when there's some wind. All right, well, let's fly it around in this default mode and let's see if it like hits the ground or whatever. I like to do this right at about eye level and just book it. Remember, this is regular GPS mode. Let's see how fast we get going. Go up a little bit. 22.5 miles per hour. Yeah, that's exactly what it claims too. I pushed it up a little bit. Let's go back down close to the ground. Remember, this thing doesn't have any obstacle avoidance. Remember that? So you can run into things, so you want to be careful of that. Went down quite a bit when I let go there. You see how it went just to a few feet off the ground. It thinks it's about 3 feet, but that's looks like only about 2 feet. Full stick forward, you can see how it had dropped a bit. I just let off. Let's see when it does get going about, pick it up a little bit. Let's see when it does get going its full speed, how long it takes to stop. I'm gonna go full blast and let off right when it gets to me, letting off now. So pretty normal, takes about 20 feet, 25 feet to, it's saying about 30 feet from its launch point. So maybe that's about 30 feet. I'm not sure how accurate that is, but it did launch right from that pad. So it thinks it's about 35 feet away from that pad. So very comparable to other drones in stopping in this normal GPS mode. And remember, you can adjust this in the settings any speed you want. But there are also these smart flight functions, right? We're gonna go through that in just a second. We're gonna go over into sport mode first. I usually just like to do kind of like manual flying and stuff in sport mode and regular mode, and then we'll go over to the advanced features. So I wanna go over to sport. You see how you can adjust the flight speed here on anything you want in this line? So you can go all the way down to 6 or all the way up to 35. I'm gonna leave it at 22.5 right now. But check this out, there should be a sport mode, there it is. You gotta go into the menu and turning on sport mode, you can go 40 miles per hour, but there's no VPU on the bottom, so it apparently takes off that precision landing or precision height hold, you know what I mean? Whoops, I just pressed the little button. Here's the buttons over here on the bottom for pictures and video. I just pressed the left one, so it stopped the video. I just pressed it again to start the video back up. So this is sport mode. You can see, look at this. Whoa, it's just crazy fast now. The gimbal can't even barely keep up with it. Let's do a punch up from right here. See how fast we get going. Full throttle up. And we're going 11. So a few more miles per hour in sport mode going up. There is that view again, beautiful. You guys tell me, we're also looking at the gimbal, right? We want to see if this gimbal gets out of whack. It still looks pretty level. And so we're just going up. Just want to get pretty high. We're already at 230 feet. Let's go all the way down. Stick all the way down. Still looking at that video. 9 miles per hour going down. So it it comes down a little faster and it goes up a little faster in sport. Looking at that video, remember, letting off now. Whoa, that's coming down really quick. So I just let off. And it's having a little trouble keeping its altitude in this sport mode. Now let's just try to fly around in sport. Remember, the regular standard GPS mode was 22.5 miles per hour. Let's see how fast it gets going in sport. And if it hits the ground or what. So we'll go over here and we'll go full throttle forward. Go. Right past us, right about chest height. Boom. That thing is flying, and just let off. So all the time we'll have that video up, guys, so you can see how the stability is in sport mode too, if you want to do some fast flying. So it's definitely super quick in sport. Let's see if it actually can get going 40. We're gonna kind of be going into the wind. I want to go directly out that way. Don't want any power lines. Let's see how fast it gets going. 28, 29, 30. Okay, it's getting about 30 into the wind. We'll turn around here. Make sure we're at the right park. There we are. Is that us? Yeah. And we'll just go full throttle forward, coming on back. There we go. Yeah, we got going 40 miles per hour right there, very briefly. So anyway, we'll come down and let off. Yeah, so everything is a lot more sensitive and quick in sport mode, but you're gonna use a lot more power, right? We're at 62% power. So far, so good. I'm gonna go down a little bit again, and let's see if we wanted to get some fast sport mode video, like close to the ground. If it can do this without hitting, like say you wanted to get some cinematic. It's getting pretty close, but it's not hitting the ground yet. And remember, it takes off its sensors, it said. Nice, so it's gonna be hard for this one to hit the ground. It gets close, but it's not hitting. Of course, I'm not going too low. Yeah, so I'm totally satisfied with that. That's great. Very quick if you wanted it to be, and it doesn't seem to want to go down and hit the ground, so that's awesome. Let's switch back into, my only gripe on this one would be you have to kind of go back into this main menu and switch out of sport mode. So you kind of have 2 button presses instead of 1. You know what we didn't do is even a compass calibration. We'll do the compass cal in the next launch before I do those smart flight functions, okay? But what I want to do quickly here is get up here in standard mode, and we want to get some photos. Let's see how good these photos are. It's a beautiful day here, and so there should be no excuse for the photos to come out bad. So we're going to hover up there. I'm going to stop recording. Remember, I can hit this left button here. That stops recording. And then I can hit this right button here on the top back of the controller. And that switches us into photo mode. I think that might have taken a picture. I'll have that up. And then you can keep just clicking it. Yeah, and you can just start taking your photos. So there's one. Let's get that West Maui Mountains. There's Lanai, I think, in the back there on the left. Beautiful. Photo taken succeeded, so it gives you a little verification. Let's pick the gimbal up another 10 degrees. Take some pictures of the clouds. You can do that if you wanted to. I didn't see a setting where you can put it any higher than that. So that may be the limitation. Let's go all the way down and take one all the way down towards the park. So really looking at the coloring, right? It seems to have gotten better. Remember that first edition had coloring issues. There's just a regular photo in normal mode, all auto, of the grass there on the park. Let's do it kind of at a sort of a 45-degree angle. Let's turn here so that we're not getting anybody's house. There we go. right about there. We'll wait till it kind of stops. It does take a while for this one to kind of stop moving to the left and right, so keep that in mind. Take a photo right there. Maybe something a little bit more to look at. There we go. There's like the little baseball diamond there, fence, and we'll take a photo of that. We'll pitch up, take a photo of Haleakala Mountain. There's that new little playground up here in Kula. Oh, you can see up there too. See that all the way at the top? There's Poli Poli I love to fly at, right in the center of the screen there. Let's take a photo of that. As you can see, the auto darkening as I get up higher, it's the auto exposure value adjustment going on. A little bit cloudy up there today. And we'll just take one of the North Shore. Oh, I saw the propeller on the left in there for a second. Wait till it stops and take a photo. Cool. Well, check it out. My maps do seem to be coming in. Just clicking on that little icon on the left. And yeah, look at this, guys. It did seem to cache the map. I'm not connected at all to any kind of internet right now. And check it out. It cached the map I had looked at previously at my house when I was connected to wireless. And so this is great. So those of you who were saying they didn't think the 2020 version caches the map, at least it does on the iPad mini. The drone's actually where that little red icon is. So maybe the GPS on the iPad is a little bit wonky. It thinks I'm over at that side of the park. So maybe not that accurate. Anyway, we're going to click back on the FPV. You can see how you can change in and out of there real quick. And let's go back to video. Start recording again. There we go. Remember, we're in just regular GPS mode. Let's come down and start some of these advanced smart flight modes, because this is a 30-minute flight time drone, right? So of course your mileage will vary on that, because if you're flying hard in sport mode, you're going to really deplete your power. If you're flying really slow, it actually takes more power to hover than to fly like at 20 miles per hour. So your mileage will vary. Let's start these smart modes. So we're clicking on this little robot icon on the bottom right. And let's just try a droney first, okay? Let's just kind of go down the list. We're not really doing the waypoint flight. Keep in mind, this can do waypoint flight, okay? So let's click on droney here. And we'll just do a rocket first. So select the target, automatically adjust, and it will go up. Video in the meantime, please fly in an open area. Okay. Drag rectangle. See how it kind of wandered to the left a little bit. Let's drag a rectangle. That was pretty easy. Doesn't seem like it cares how high it is in this mode. And all I'm seeing is an arrow to the right, so I'm pressing it. There we go. So we can adjust our flight speed. Let's go all the way up, and our distance. What the heck? Let's just do 200 feet, okay? Auto return. I want it on. Looks like you have the choice for it to just stay out there. I don't know why you'd want to do that. Okay, let's press go. Flight is too low. Okay, I thought it might have asked me that. So it doesn't really say how high to put it. So this is something we really need to look at too, because remember the original version had trouble with tracking. Okay, let's try this again. Everything's still the same, and go. Flight height too low. So that's kind of lame if you ask me. If you're just doing a droney, you might want it to be closer. And the thing about this, a little irritating, is I can't see any height on my screen right now. You just have to guess how high you need to be. There we go. It liked that at 20 feet. Let's see what it does. Okay, it's going to come. This is a rocket, that's right. So it's coming directly above. Hopefully it's filming. Yes, it is. All right, start whenever you're ready. It's just hovering there. Okay, it starts off really slow. So this is where you could do like the lay down. Looks like it's tracking pretty good still. You can get your rocket shots. Remember, we maxed out the speed and we're having to go about 200 feet. So it definitely takes a while to start the rocket. At least you can see your height. Yeah, it went over 200. It's at 226 right now. Looks like it finished. At least it's still recording. That's cool. The DJI stuff stops recording when it finishes. Go ahead and get back up. Let's see kind of where it stops. If it goes out and stops out there again. Or if it'll just stop right over our head. Okay, it's just gonna stop over your head, so be aware of that. Remember how I started like out here and then it came over to start? So that's a rocket, guys. Looks like you have to pull your gimbal back up too, obviously, because it stopped right over our head. Okay, we still got 32% power. Let's see how much it lets us do. I'm just gonna really get this battery down there. Let's do an invert. So this will just go up and out like a regular droney. Press an OK. And same thing, we want to drag a rectangle. So target, whatever it may be, it can be somebody else from a different distance, different area as well. And we'll do faster flight speed, max it out at 22. We'll do another 230 and we'll have an auto return. Go. All right, that one didn't seem to have to be that high. Look, that's only 10 feet and it started that. That's weird how it's kind of randomized. Okay, it's going out there and it is tracking me quite good. Let's see if I move over a little bit. Wow, look at that. See that little box?
Please land ASAP to avoid damaging.
Okay, I just said low battery, please land ASAP to avoid damaging. Look at that, from way out there, it's still tracking me. See that little box on the screen? That's great to know. Let's see if I walk over here, where it comes back to. That'll be interesting. Is it gonna come back to me or is it gonna come back to that? Oh, yeah, so there we go. There's a little bit of a limitation. It's trying to compute a few things. It was actually coming back to me until it lost my tracking. And that stopped the video, so it does little video clips. So that's cool. So we're now in low power mode, guys. You see how we're at 26%. Let's rotate this gimbal back up. And let's just keep trying a couple more of these things. Let's just try a tap fly. We'll get to some of these things when we put a new battery in. Okay, so this is a tap fly. Oh, but you can't do it in the FPV. It's only gonna be doing it on this little map here. So you just do one at a time. So see how I just tapped there? Let's see what it does. 16 feet away. And then you can select your mile per hour. And I'm just doing the slider and go. So remember, there's no obstacle avoidance on this, so I'm surprised it can be that low and do this blindly. So it's just gonna go 16 feet away. That's definitely more than 16 feet. So that's the tap fly. It's kind of unusable. It's just kind of a waypoint type of mission thing. Let's come back. So it just completely goes out of it. So you got to kind of control it back. I don't even know why you'd want to use that. Not incredibly useful. It's basically just a one waypoint. 16%. You know what? I'm going to bypass these others for this battery and let's just try this. Let's fly out here and let's let it do a return to home. Low battery, please land ASAP.
Low battery. Please land.
Okay. Oh, so it's trying to land, so be careful with that. Okay. You don't want to be flying out there when it's below like 20% because it didn't seem to want to initiate a return to home. It's just slowly going down. That's no good. So be careful with that. Let's just try a return to home. See if it can do it. Okay, I just...
battery level left. The drone is returning.
Okay, maybe it would have. I kind of took over because it was already kind of landing on its own and it didn't go into RTH until I switched this orange button here. So pulley off the sticks, supposedly this camera, when it gets over the home point, it's supposed to angle down and visually track the landing pad. Let's see if that's the case when it gets to a certain point. Or if you need to... Yeah, see, it looks like you need to like pull the gimbal down yourself because it said landing pad not detected. That was kind of lame. You'd think if it's going to use the camera. There, landing pad detected. So you kind of have to pull it down yourself.
Please fly carefully.
So it is working. It's adjusting itself for the landing pad. That's good.
Critical low battery.
It had a problem there at the end, but that was okay. It got to critical at like 9%. And you also have flight logs, right? So you can see like how long you've been flying and stuff. Let's see if we can access that really quick. And you go down here in this little dots here, and you can go in flight records. And so it shows you I did a few flights at home just to test it out. You can go in the flight list, and here was the flight we just did right here. See that? And what's cool about this, it looks like it doesn't want to pull in. There we go. Yeah, it did cache the map, so that's great. You see these things on the bottom right I'm clicking on? You can have your map, you can have what your controller's doing during the flight, and you can have the info of your battery. I think that's fantastic. So you have all that information. And so if we go all the way to the end when we landed, you see our flight route there in red. It also has your GPS coordinates. It shows you the temp. It shows you what the battery was taking in amperage while it was flying through the flight. And that will change. You see how if I scroll to the left here, you see how right there it was taking 9 amps. And when it landed, it was taking 1 amp. And you can see the voltage of your cells when it landed. So 3.6, still perfectly fine. And that flight was 28 minutes and 50 seconds to 9%. So I wouldn't definitely doubt this can go over 30 like they claim. So that's great. Maybe we'll test that in the next test. But as far as the precision landing, again, I always push my batteries a little bit. So maybe that affected it when it was down to 9%. So it's pretty cool. You have a really amazing heads-up display in your flight record, just as like you were flying. So that's really cool. Anyway, what I was saying is the precision, I'm not going to knock it too much. I mean, this is literally a foot off from where it did launch. It did have a little bit of wind when it launched up. Remember that on the first launch? So it pushed it over about over here. The reason I like to have that precision landing auto to do it all by itself is say you're out there doing something and you fall down, your controller breaks, you're right next to the water, there's people around you, whatever it may be. You want this thing to automatically take over and land as closest to where it took off, because that's kind of your safe area, right? Where the drone was taking off. You don't want it to be landing over here if something happens to you and possibly hit a person or go right in the water. Say you're on the edge of a cliff or on the edge of the beach. You don't want that to happen. It is a feature that should work good if they claim stuff like that works. Anyway, guys, that was good fun. Let's put the other battery in here and do the rest of those flight modes. We'll do some tracking and all that kind of stuff and just see really how good this thing is with that second battery, and then we'll do a final pros and cons. All right, here we go, guys. Brand new battery in the X8 2020. Initially, since we forgot to do our compass cal, it seemed to fly fine. I just did a compass cal at home, but you always want to do one kind of in an open area. At home, I was kind of around some interference, and I did it kind of on my trampoline area where there's some metal surrounding it. So you really want to do it in an area like this that's completely void of any interference aside from, of course, your controller. It's going to be kind of close to it and stuff. You don't want to have your phone in your pocket and stuff like that. So let's just do one real quick before we start all these other advanced functions. And we're going to go into the options here. And you see how we have a little, that's actually a good gauge too. You see how it says amount of magnetic interference. There's a little meter though, so it's super low right now, so a perfect place to do it. Let's just go through a compass calibration. And so I want to set my controller down on the ground, you know, a few feet away from it. And then you'll see what I'm doing on my screen. I'm going to press start. And we want to just lift it up kind of away and look at the screen while we're doing this, and you can see how I'm just kind of turning it horizontally clockwise until it tells me to do something else. Okay, now it's telling me to face it up towards the sky with the camera up, and now do another clockwise rotation, or keep doing it until it tells you something else on the screen. And there we go, we got a check mark. I'm going to put this guy back down. And every time you do that, I mean, it's not saying to restart, but I honestly would just go ahead and restart. So I'm going to restart this thing, and then we'll get flying and do our other stuff. So just went through the whole restart process, and there we go. So anyway, let's try a manual launch this time. So what we'll do is we'll bring both sticks down and in.
Excessive vibration detected. Please check the blades and drone body for any damage.
Now, did you see that? I didn't spread the propellers out, and it did some weird vibrations. So definitely want to be careful of that. Definitely want to spread those propellers out, otherwise you might have that vibration issue. Now that they're kind of spread out, now we should be okay. Let's try that again. There we go. So at least it warns you. That's kind of a good fail-safe if one of your propellers isn't on correctly. So I actually do kind of like that. It did stop recording though, so I'm going to need to start recording again. And well, that's great. That's exactly what I like to see. You see how the propellers turned off at about 10 seconds without me launching? That's awesome. So a good fail-safe too. You start it up. If you don't launch for 10 seconds, they'll shut off. So let's just push up. And we'll just do a manual launch. Of course, you can go as high as you want here. And let's start doing some of these smart functions well, more of them, finish them out. And I like to give the drone the benefit of the doubt by kind of putting the subject, which is going to be me and the sun, as much as possible, so we have a good contrast. And so we're going to immediately go into this little smart robot head. We're going to do smart track, and this is kind of unfortunate that it's still in beta. If you look up here on the top right, remember it was in beta on the first one too, like the 2018, or was it the 19 model? Let's just try a trace. So drag a rectangle and it'll just trace you. So this doesn't have any obstacle avoidance, so be careful of that stuff. Let's try it in this kind of low sunlight. See how I did a rectangle? Now remember the first one, I'm just kind of redoing the rectangle so it has the best possible tracking of me. This is where the first one had issues where it would lose track and just start tracking the grass. So we're going to press go on the screen. Flight too low. So it's kind of odd how some features, the height can be lower than others. It seems like that go should be red instead of telling you the flight's too low when you click on it. Why not make that red and then make it blue when it's able? Okay, there we go. So it's already should be tracking. And let's see if it does do that. So it should actually kind of follow me while it's tracking. So far, so good. Now in the settings, guys, there is a track while moving backwards that I have on. It's just right in the settings. And you see how this box is kind of getting larger? So that is kind of discouraging. You see how I'm getting on the edge of the box? So kind of the same thing that the other one did. That's really unfortunate. Look at that, it already lost me. And it doesn't know what to do. It's kind of going up and down right there, getting confused. Let's see if it'll retrack when I come in view. Hey, well, it's retracking, but look at that square is kind of giant. And I'm just going out of the square. So they really need to work on their AI, right? Their automated intelligence for tracking. I can't even redo a square while it's doing this. I have to X out of this, press OK, and then retrack again. Go back in, smart track, trace. I'm not going to show that again. And we need to do another rectangle. Okay. Give it the benefit of the doubt. Let it sit there for a minute. Whatever it's doing, some kind of recognition, and then press go. Let's try walking forward towards the drone. I do have the backwards flight on in the option, so it should have no problem. Let's do a little jog. See how this does. Doing good. Juke to the right a little bit. See how it follows. Maybe when I was going too slow, it was having trouble. Seems to be doing pretty good now. Go this way, see how it follows. A little bit delayed, but it's doing pretty darn good. We go towards it. See how quick it reacts. All right. You just can't do more than maybe running, or else it'll lose you. Go back. Here, watch, I'm running at a steady pace. Now I'm going to turn around. Let's see if we can make it lose me. Hey man, that's actually better than than the Mavic Air 2. Remember when I did that with the Mavic Air 2, it couldn't keep up. So on occasion it'll screw up, but man, that did really well for this 2020 version. Let's go around this thing, hide behind it, hit back up. I know it's weird, but I like to do these little weird things just to see. Okay, that time it did really well. And check this out, you can move it wherever you want. I'm going to pull back on the controller. Let's see if we go down, how far we can go down. Hey, actually I can go, I'm just going to go right above my chair and see if it can still do this. Wow, not bad. So it's trying to maintain its distance, right? So you want to really be careful. Is it coming back towards me? Yeah, it is. So I put it out there. It's staying out there. It seems to do better farther away. It's like the truth. Let's run at it. Oh, it took a while to back up for some reason. Now it's kicking in. All right, let's try a few jukes while it's tracking from this far away. Hey, that's not bad at all. All right, that's way better than the last version did, even though we had that little problem in the beginning there. Now I can push it forward and put it wherever I want. That seemed to screw it up. That's okay, it did well when I set it. And over on the left here, we can change the stuff we're doing instantly. Although now, see, that box is messed up and I can't readjust it, so I have to go out. So I just changed to profile. I'm gonna press OK, get out of there. Go back into Smart Track. Let's go into profile. So remember, we can switch between these three on the fly as long as your box is tracking correctly. Let's see if we can go from this height. Yeah, see, height is too low. Why not make that red if it's too low instead of you having to click on it and figure it out? Seems like it needs to be about 10 feet or so. All right, that time it worked. Now this is profile. It should just kind of track me. It seems like you can bring it down now after you start tracking. It seems like this will lock the head in and it should just follow you sideways. Let's see if that works. Yeah, so it's not turning its head. It's just locking in and doing a profile shot, following the subject at a fixed position, fixed height, and fixed distance without turning its head. Let's go back a little bit, kind of like we did the other one, right about there. And let's start moving. So if you wanted to do some cool profile shots of somebody riding a bike, whatever it may be, it seems to work pretty well. Go forward at it. Oh, screwed up on that. Profile doesn't want to go back. It seemed like it can only do that in trace. Let's see if it comes towards me. Will it? No. So that's kind of a bummer. Other drones can go farther or closer and follow while it's profiling. This will not follow you while it's profiling, only sideways. See this? If I'm starting to get closer or whatever, it will not back up. It will not come forward. It just stays there. Let's see if it can track underneath. Okay, fail. Yep. Okay, limitations. We always find the limitations, so would be great if they could work on that. Can't do anything here. It's really freaking out. Doesn't know what to do. So I got to get out of here and move my gimbal back up. All right, finally getting some exercise with you guys. 69% power left. Bring it over. Whoop. Just so we're in the sunlight, give it the benefit of the doubt here. Back into Smart Track. That's one of the main things I wanted to test in these advanced functions. Get over here, okay. So we did the profile and you can see the pros and cons of each. Let's do a lock. Now this should just be like a tripod sitting on the ground on a pole and not able to move at all, just turn the head. Yeah, still too low to start. Wow, that's kind of lame. They need to fix that, man. Had to go up manually, press and go. So say you're, like I was saying in another video, say you're doing a frisbee match on the park here and you have a cordoned off area that the drone's in, you don't have a tripod, you want to get some aerial shots. You're watching the match, say from up here. Let's go even higher. See if it can track me from that high. There we go. You're droning a match and you don't want the drone to move, you just want the head to move and the camera to go up and down and follow whatever subject you choose. There we go. Fail again. Kind of in the shade of the sun. I have to, unfortunately, get out of this. So sure would be nice if you could just let me try to go back in the box, but sure would be nice if you could adjust that square while you're still in this mode. Let's see if it will redetect. Yeah, so failure. Bummer, guys. And you can't do anything until you get out of this, so that's definitely big con in my eyes there on these smart functions. There were a few things I want to check out here. While we're doing that, we'll try that again. Did you see these little guys here? So on the bottom here I have this thing I can move. So what is this gonna do? Oh, well, that's cool. It's like a tripod orbit. So you see that? I just slid it to the right and now it's going at 6.4 feet per second. Let's try 10 feet per second. A good way to do a orbit. Now, it doesn't seem like it's keeping me very in the center of the screen, but at least it's doing a decent orbit. And can I run around? Sorta. That box is scaring me. It's getting kind of larger and out of whack. Is it backing up? Okay, this is interesting. Now the drone is actually kind of doing a trace because it's backing up a little bit as I'm going forward. Well, that's pretty cool. So go in tripod mode, guys, and you can do this cool orbit function while you're moving. Again, something that the Mavic Mini can't do. Remember? And this is the same price as the Mavic Mini. So for those of you looking for this infinity tracking capability, doing pretty good in this round. Look at this. Of course, the contrast against the grass is helping it. You know, doing sports, doing soccer, whatever it may be. I don't know how other players would be on the screen, but that's actually tolerable. Even though I'm slightly out of the screen, I mean, not centered, but that's not bad at all. So let's see if we slide the other way. Let's go all the way to the left, maximum 13 feet per second. Now the sun's coming out. Okay, now it's starting to orbit the other way. Check this out, guys. So this is the best I've seen in a budget drone like this. Fully stabilized gimbal at this cost. And it's able to do these orbit tracking functions that work pretty good. Better than most. Okay, so I am definitely satisfied with that little session there. So I'll wait till it kind of comes around here. Let's see if we move the head or anything, what happens. Yeah, I just moved the head to the left and it kind of stopped doing anything. It took away the orbit. Start the orbit again. Just pushing the bar to the left. Yeah, so it has trouble keeping the subject perfectly centered, but you know, that's not that bad. Let's see if while it's doing this, we can kind of come down and forward. So it completely stops the orbit. Okay, but I do want to see if it can do like a really low and close orbit. Remember like the Mavic Air could? So I just came and I'm letting off the sticks. Let's see if it continues doing what it was doing. Nope. I'm gonna need to push to the left again. Wow, I can do it from this low? It's only like 2 feet off the ground right now. Whoa, having some issues. It's still kind of trying to do it. Oh, it totally whacked out. So it's not going to be able to do that like the Mavic 2 can. That kind of low orbit. Remember that? I tried that in the Mavic 2 video. Hey, but it's recalibrating and getting me here. That's pretty cool. Let's try a little bit slower speed. 6.7 feet per second. It seems to be wanting to go a little bit farther out on its own. So you really, to do this kind of stuff, guys, you're gonna need to, and see it's losing me and hitting the chair now. Whoa, and it just totally got whacked out. Okay, so we're again finding some limitations, but that's to be expected with this cheap one. It probably just doesn't have like the AI and the processing power to do these. Okay, we're at 47%, guys. Let's switch to something else here. I just really want to see if it'll do that in the regular smart track, if we can adjust things. Gotta go up again, remember. Okay, so the trace, you don't even have that option on the bottom to do a orbit. So it's like you gotta go into that tripod mode to do that. So really good to know. See how it doesn't want to keep tracking me. Look at that. So I just pushed roll to the left and it just didn't want to track anymore. So if you want to do those moving orbits, guys, you have to go into this mode right here, the lock mode. Okay. All right, enough of that. I'm sure by now you got that. Keep repeating it, but let's just go back in here and let's do a couple other things. We did the tap fly, that wasn't very good. Let's just try an orbit. So this is when it kind of does like a GPS point orbit. Please fly to the top of center. Okay, let's do this chair. And DJI is way better at doing this because it triangulates just from the camera. You don't have to fly over the subject if you don't want to. Let's just do this chair. Right there. Okay, and setting center. Now we need to set the radius. So I'm going to pull back. And let's go up. Okay, so that radius is going to be about 100 feet. Okay, and let's set radius. We're going to go all the way fast. We're going to leave it. Let's let the heading be center, and it's going to go counter. It's going to go clockwise. Go. So when you do this, guys, you're going to need to move the gimbal. See how the gimbal's still facing down? So I need to push it up manually with my left finger on the roller. There we go. But at least it locks in that GPS point in its memory, and you can get a pretty good orbit shot, it looks like. You see how that's nice and centered? I'm just moving the camera up and down as needed. So that's a pretty good orbit. I'm satisfied with that. Let's see what happens if we move up while it's doing this orbit. Up and back. Very good. Okay, in this instance, you can move the controls anywhere you want while it's orbiting. Let's try to come close. Closer and down. Oh, and of course this is going to be tough because you need to move your gimbal, right? I want to get closer within this fence and down. Keep going down. Let's see how far down we can get. And if it can still do this. Okay, so there's a way to get low and fast orbiting.
The drone has reached auto takeoff altitude.
Can't go lower than that. Look at this. 16 feet. But check out that orbit. That's doing it all on its own. It seems to be pretty centered. Okay, so pretty good. Let's stop, pressing X. Okay. 33% power, my gosh. Don't have enough time for anything. All right, let's do a spiral real quick. It's the same thing. Okay, really quick. Right over this chair again. Let's try this again. Boom. Spiral. Okay. Set center. That's where it's going to take off from. Go. I'm going to have it go, let's just do 150 feet about, and we'll have auto return. Go. Quick, before the battery runs out. All right, let's see what it does. It should do a spiral. Come on, start. Fly away. Yeah. Am I too close? What's up? Go. Okay, I was too close to it. So I flew away. There we go. I still have to adjust my gimbal, it seems. But see what it's doing? It's just doing up and out in a circle. Okay? So spiral, point of interest. All right. We get the idea. We're gonna stop it. Come on back. And let's just finish up. We're at 20% power. Let's finish up with a couple of things here. Start recording it. Apparently that's stopped. Okay, so we did pretty much everything here. Cinematic mode. Basically, it's just slowing the flight characteristics down. So we don't need me to be in view here. That's all this is doing. Gimbal full up. You see how slow that is. Everything just is a little bit more delayed. See that? And it's taking a long time to stop. So it kind of slows it to mid-level. Let's get out here so you guys can see that. That's cinematic mode, guys. Off on that. Tripod. Tripod is incredibly slow. Look at this, full throttle up. Only going 2 miles per hour. Full throttle forward. We're only going 2 miles per hour. That's full throttle forward there. And that's full yaw turning. So you can get some really slow tripod shots. Again, no obstacle avoidance, so be careful. It's just about to go into its auto landing. And I think that's enough for today. Course lock, all that does is it takes off where the head is. You know what I mean? So now it wants to land. So it looks like 15%. And then fixed wing is just like it incorporates the controls, so it feels like an airplane flying. We don't really need to test those out. What I was trying to say is course lock is basically, if I had the head pointing that way and I set it, the head would still be that way, but it would be in accordance to the direction I was from the drone. Like if I pushed forward, it would still fly out from me, even though the head was that way. If I pushed right, it would go right, left, back. So that's all that is, if for like super beginners maybe. So I'm kind of just holding it up, guys. I want to see really how long this thing can fly for. And the gimbal looks decently level. Now, keep in mind, I'm on the side of a mountain. So that's why the mountain is so facing down, right? Going down the hill. But what you really want to look at is this park should be pretty level. And that's what we want to look at. So, I'm just going to keep flying. I'm having to push up on my throttle. Otherwise, look, it's going to go down.
Only landing battery level left. The drone is landing. Low battery for landing. Please fly carefully.
So did you hear that? It's talking to me. Only enough battery for landing left. It seemed to say that right when I got to 10%. So I'm having to push my throttle up.
Please fly carefully.
So good for emergency. If you did need the power to get home, look, you can still do this. Push up a little. We're at 9%. I really want to just fly until it forces me to land, which I think will probably be around maybe 5% or so. It's at 8%. I can still fly it and control it perfectly. Just have to push up a little bit. We're still just in regular GPS mode, aren't we? Yeah. You see, this thing doesn't have any sensors, look. It will run into an object, so you guys don't need to test that. It doesn't have any sensors whatsoever for obstacle avoidance. Only thing that camera does is track. So I'm still just kind of flying around the horizon. Yeah, it's still level. And see that fence? The fence should be totally level there. We are at 5%, guys. Let's just keep it up. Keep going, slowly moving for more efficiency. Now keep in mind that, remember I was saying, If you're moving at around 20, it seems to be the perfect efficiency for this craft. What's interesting is hovering, you're taking about an amp or two more power. And when you're flying at 22 miles per hour, you're also taking another couple of amps of power. So I'm probably going to do my range test in 20 miles per hour. I was testing it at home and it seemed to be the most efficient speed for this. 20 mile per hour speed. So don't forget, we're going to do that range test coming up in another video, probably at the same spot. And we're also going to try out some range extenders I have 2 of them for this thing. So first we're going to do all stock range tests, and then we'll slap on those extenders. And okay, pushing up. I can still go up a little bit. We're down to 2%, guys. Man, is this going to destroy the battery? I've got to be right around the 30-minute mark. I'm just going to get ready for it to force land. It's at 1%. So what this tells me is a range test to 0 will be possible, since I can control it all the way down. Yeah, we're at 0. And it's not forcing me to land. I can still push up and look, I can still go up, and we're at 0. So I'm going to let it land here.
Critical low battery. The drone is landing. Critical low battery. Please fly carefully.
Oh wait, critical low battery.
For landing. Please fly carefully.
Yeah, it's still letting me push up, so I don't want to destroy this battery. I'm going to let it land. Go ahead and land, drone. There it goes. Whoa. Boy, we went under 0.
Critical low battery. The drone is landing. Low battery. Please charge or replace.
Wow. So real quick, guys, going in, even though I have 0%, going into our options, going into flight records, that flight we just did, look at this. We flew for 32 minutes, so it is for real. We almost flew for 33 doing all that stuff. And we landed with 3.55 volts. Okay. And look at that. It didn't even drop below 3.5. So this battery is still good. I just need to turn it off right away. Again, press and hold both devices, turns it off. Let's stop our screen recording. Cool, man. Let's wrap this up. Do a pros and cons, and we'll talk about how this thing did. So congratulations, guys. If you made it through that video, probably about an hour long video. But I gotta say, the Fimi X8 2020 did great. Comparing it to the last Fimi, it seemed like the tracking did a little bit better. It did fly longer. The last Fimi, I think I got 30 minutes when I went down to like the 0. This one we went just even under 0. And remember, we looked at our voltage at the end of the flight when it landed, and it was still at 3.55 volts per cell. So that's definitely not low enough to damage your cells. And that was at, I think we were at 32.5 minutes about. So I wouldn't doubt, if I'm flying 20 miles per hour, as long as there's not much wind when we do our range test, I wouldn't doubt that it would actually fly close to 33 to 35 minutes like they claim it could. Going about 20 miles per hour seem to be the most efficient. It is very interesting how drones like this, multi-rotors in general, do have a optimal flight efficiency speed, and this seems to be about 20 miles per hour. Anyway, getting down to the pros and cons, overall the tracking for a $400 drone, if we're comparing this to the Mavic Mini, did very well. The Mavic Mini can't do any tracking aside from its predetermined little quick shots within that. Some of them can do sort of tracking. Possibly if you get alternate programs, you can do some tracking. But this one did on some of them very well. Occasionally, as you could see, the target was lost and it couldn't retrack unless you went out of the mode. That was kind of irritating. The parallel tracking was kind of weird because it wouldn't back up or come forward. It would just go parallel. The main follow tracking would do everything. It would go back, go forward. But what was interesting is you couldn't do any orbits on that mode like you could the tripod. You could move the slider and you could actually do a moving orbit, so you could go into the tripod. So that was pretty awesome. I don't remember you being able to do that in the original version. So they made some improvements. Really look at that camera, guys. I'm going to be just seeing the screen in this video right now, but you will have seen the actual 4K 30 in normal mode, all auto, during that entire review, as well as the pictures I took. So you be the judge of that. If it looks better to you, go ahead and I'll have my original video linked on the original version of this. And you can also check out my Mavic Mini reviews, and you be the judge of what you think is better. But honestly, this seems to have gotten much better since the last iteration. I would say it's definitely a worthy purchase between the two, the Mavic Mini and this, if you're looking for more full-fledged functions than the Mavic Mini. Again, this does the 4K, the Mavic Mini does the 2K, but the Mavic Mini does a really good 2K. And also be checking out the stability of each camera as it flies in the different modes. That's something you also want to check too. If you're trying to get shots and a lot of it's unusable because the camera's all wonky or vibrating, you wouldn't want to use those shots, and it might be more frustrating for you. So keep an eye. I want you guys to make sure you keep an eye on the camera and the video, the quality of the video and the pictures, and you kind of got to make up your own decision between the two of which one you think is worth more for you and the functions each one has, and which function is better for you and what you want to sink your money into. I know it was a long one, but thanks for sticking with me. And we just really need to test everything out on these things to make sure they're really worth the money they want for them, and they can do the functions they say. Again, that one tracking, that main track was still in beta, which seemed like all of them were still kind of in beta. So take that with a grain of salt. I mean, if it seemed to perform well enough for you, again, my reviews are super honest and I just tell it like it is. So if it seemed to do what you thought was better than the Mini in some situations and you think you like this better, then that's totally your choice on which one to get. But I think it did pretty good. There's still some improvements it can do, just like all drones. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget links to the gear I use, the products I review in the description, as always. Don't forget, we're doing range tests next on this guy, and I have a couple of range extenders. Of course, we're going to do just the stock range test first. I also got these guys, these Yagi antennas we're going to be putting on the controller there. So this is a different kind of range extender than I'm normally used to, which are these parabolic dishes, which kind of concentrate the signal as well. So we're going to try these also in a couple of range tests. So hang in there, stay tuned, and don't forget also, I'm giving one of these away. So once my series is complete, I'm going to give you guys a brand new one of these away, sent directly from me. So be sure to stay tuned, subscribe, check that notification bell so you don't miss that giveaway video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.